So after joining the main fabric to the lower part, the upper part to the lower part, this is what we have. You need to check to be sure that everything is clean and smooth. You're not catching what you shouldn't catch. Everything is nice and neat. So next now is time to join the lining to the lining. Right side of the lining to the right side of the upper lining. So this is it. We have already reduced the lining to 26 inches, so we're just going to pin and then sew all the way to the other end. At this point everything is getting really bulky, but it's fine, you can do it. So the right side of the lining to the right side of the main fabric. So once you're done, the next step is to add the zipper. See how clean and smooth it's looking. This is the inside. This is the part that is going to be touching the body. You can see there's no seam showing. It's very neat and professionally looking. Very clean. So this part touching the baby is going to feel very comfortable. The hardness is not showing, it's nowhere in sight. Next now we are going to fold the main fabric, that's the outer part, into two by the seam, that's the center back. We're going to fold them like so, match the seams. We're going to pin first, then go so, close the part where the zip is not going to sit, leaving only the space for the zip. So I'm pinning this midpoint first. This is the half length side. This part has to match. Whatever you do, this part must match. This one is non-negotiable. So you pin that part first, then pin. See why it was important that we hold the net pieces together with the satin. Now it has made the whole thing a lot easier. You can easily just pin them together. Now this part where the second tier of the outer layer is sitting must also match. It has to match. So make sure of it while you're pinning. You have to match. If not, your work is going to look tacky. So make sure they are matching, and then go on to the satin where the length of the satin is. These two must match. They have to align. You don't want to have one satin piece hanging lower than the other one. They have to be exactly the same. So using the pins now is going to give you an idea. So from the half length now, we are going to measure down 5 inches. Then from that 5 inches, we are going to sew from there. So the zipper is going to start from the neckline to that 5 inches point. So from this 5 inches point now, we're going to close the rest of the dress. Now from the middle, we'll measure 1.5 inches in. Remember, we left 1.5 inches as our zip allowance when we're cutting. So from here now, we'll measure 1.5 inches and then sew that 1.5 all the way to the hem of the dress, all the way down to the net as well. Because we have already sewn all the layers into one, it's a lot easier now at this point. So make sure you don't skip that step. So once you're done sewing this part, you can go now and iron it apart. Make sure not to burn it. Net is very soft, it can easily burn. So just iron that seam flat so that it is clean. And now I am checking to be sure that everything is matching. So the layer is matching for now. Next is time to fix the zip. So I have a zip here, is long. So I'm going to move it up so that the zip is not hanging under the dress. So place it in such a way that it does not get to the hem of the dress. Now I've turned the dress to the wrong side. It's the wrong side that is out, but the zip is sitting on the right side of the dress. So I measured 1.5 inches in, and then I'm going to place the zip there, making sure that it's not the part that will be left down is no longer than the dress. So on the right side of the dress, I'm placing the right side of the zip, making sure it's sitting on 1.5 inches of allowance. So you can measure, make a mark, but I don't want to make a mark on the right side. So just use tape, measure 1.5 inches, and then make sure your zip is sitting just on that 1.5 inch point. Then you sew all the way. So when you get to where you've joined the two pieces together at the lower part, you just sew to the side a little bit. I have a detailed tutorial on my channel on how to fix a zipper using a zipper foot. You might want to check that out. I used a tiny fabric, so you see clearly how to maneuver it. So after sewing, you check to be sure that everything is okay, nothing is catching the zipper or anything. After that, we are going to sew the zipper to this other side again. This time around, we start from the down part. So we're going to sew from the down now, still making sure that we have 1.5 inches from the side. The zipper is sitting on 1.5 inch, which is the allowance that we left for it. So we're going to sew all the way to the top. You notice that we are not sewing on the lining. The lining is still hanging far away from the main dress. So the zipper is attached only to the main fabric. So the lining will be used to finish the seams neatly, as you would see. So now I'm checking to see that my zip is aligning, and since it's aligned, we are good to go. If it's not, you may have to adjust. And it's also important that you don't lose and sew so many times so that your dress does not look worn out from all the loosening and sewing and loosening and sewing. So next, now after fixing the zip, we're going to bring the lining piece to the right side. Like pull it all the way to the right side of the dress. So you remember that we left 1 inch at the neckline when we were sewing in the beginning time. So we are going to go now and close that space. The right side of the lining to the right side of the dress. This is what we have now. So we're going to pin close. We'll close that place, that space we left at the neckline, and then we will also sew it down to the zip side. You will see. So I'm using pins now to just hold it so that it stays in place. Now we are matching the allowance of the zip allowance of the main dress and the zip allowance of the lining piece together. Now the main fabric is already joined all the way down and there's a zipper attached to it already. The lining piece, however, is still open at the lower part. It's completely open, as you can see. So we're going to match them like so until we pass where the zipper stops. We'll make sure we pass it a bit because you can't pass too much, else it doesn't it gets difficult to sew. So make sure you pass at least by 1 inch. After that, we are going to go sew. Already the line that we have sewn, the zipper is already showing. So we're going to turn it to the side where that line is showing and then sew as closely to the line as possible. That way our zipper is concealed neatly. So on the opposite side, we are doing the same thing. We are going to place the lining and the main fabric together at the neckline and pin, and then we will match the same allowance of the main fabric and the same allowance of the lining all the way until we pass 1 inch past the zip where the zip is sitting. This can be tricky, but it's very doable. Just take your time and I'm sure you will get it. So pin the same allowances together. On this side too, because we have already fixed the zip, there's going to be a line on the other side where the zip was fixed. So you make sure you sew very close to that line. If you can sew on that line exactly, that would be great. But if you can't, sew very close to the first line until you get to 1 inch below where the zipper is. So go ahead now and sew as gently as possible, just like I'm doing. At this point, the dress is really bulky, so it can get difficult, but like I said, it's very doable. Just take your time. Once this is done, we'll go on ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So we're sewing down this zip part first before we finish the neck. So after sewing the zip part, we'll go now and sew the neck, that 1 inch we left hanging, and then close the rest of the neckline. Just so from where we stopped the first time, continue from there, and then when you get to that corner, you turn, leave the needle in, lift your presser foot, and then turn the fabric, then continue to close. Now everything you do here, you will do on the opposite side of the zipper, and once you're done, you cut out the excess zip that is hanging and then push your lining piece back to the inside. So once everything is pushed to the inside, remember our lining was hanging, so we'll need to close that space. So turning the dress to the lining part now, we're going to just hold the lining piece right sides together like so, and then we're going to go sew using 1.5 inches, which is the zip allowance. So after that, our dress will now have a perfect inseam finishing. Everything on the inside right now is looking very clean, as you can see, and the fabric as well, very soft on the skin, which is really good for the baby. See what the inside looks like. No seam is showing. Everything is neatly concealed and clean. See? So this is it for the dress. Next, now we are going to make the bow for the back. Next, now I'm going to measure the width of the dress to get the width where our bow is going to be, like how wide the bowl at the back would be. So I just measured here